Lineker face on. Hello and welcome to the Feet in the Circle podcast. We're back with a 2024 podcast. Looking back on the 2023 season and things that have obviously most people have heard about in the last few weeks. I'm joined by Sean Prendergast and Vince Wills as usual. Good evening, guys.
How's it going?
Evening. Let's start then. Today with how 2023 went for you two personally. Let's start with you, Vince. How was your 2023 Petanque season?
2023 was all right. It was it was I had the same shit. Sorry, I can't swear. The same stuff every year. I leave it last minute to make a team, and the team somehow works, and we sort of compete to qualify basically. But from a playing perspective, I enjoyed it. I felt like I had a good season, like in terms of how I played. A little bit disappointed that I didn't get a title this year. Got to the final with the triples, and I think quarterfinals of the doubles with Jeremy. But one game can screw your whole weekend up almost. So yeah, it was ups and downs. I enjoyed it though. I think this year more than any, I really enjoyed playing with my team. So like Reece and Jeremy, there was just a really chilled vibe. I think we weren't overthinking anything. We just enjoyed ourselves, and we all stayed together in the same place, had a few beers in the evening, and it was quite relaxed and chill. We didn't overthink things, and we enjoyed ourselves on the piste, which helps with your confidence. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Just to clarify, Vince, that team was put together quite late in the in the year, ready to. And what was the first event you played? The
Leicester.
National.
Yes.
Oh, Leicester.
So Leicester was the first time. Was Leicester the first? Did we have a triples in Leicester? I can't even remember where the SSEs were now. So I did the doubles with Jeremy in Leicester, and then did we have a triples SSE in Leicester as well?
No, I think there were two at Worthing.
Both at Worthing, yeah.
And one.
Was it only two?
Down.
Oh yeah, and then Ferndown. Yeah, so the first time we played as a triple was Ferndown, and Reece came on board literally last minute because he wasn't really planning on playing. He didn't really have a team, and me and Jez sort of said, "Do you want to play?" And he said, "You know what? I'm a bit out of practice, but I'll come along." And it just worked. And I think Reece got a bit of motivation from he got into the final with the doubles as well. And then we obviously got to the final with the triples, and then it was kind of semi in our hands going into the Worthing weekend, and I think we topped the seeding at every event for the Swiss, and then always just came a little bit short. Well, in the two key finals that we lost, especially the first one in Ferndown where we were in control. So yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. I liked playing with them both, and see what changes happen this year.
Did you find that because like Reece come in last minute and your team was kind of put together at the 11th hour, that helped you in terms of like pressure and just enjoying it a bit more on the piece, less expectation?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'd made the final the year before with Josh in the doubles, so I've been to the latter stages quite a lot in recent years. But going there, with a kind of new team, Jeremy, and I've always got along with him on the piste and off. Like we're both quite chill when we're on the train, but serious as well at the same time. Like it's that balance between enjoying yourself but wanting to make sure you destroy the opposition, sort of thing. It's a nice mix, and we had that, and I think Reece has that as well. He's when he's up for it, basically. But
yeah. And Sean, how was 2023 for you?
A bit of a mixed bag for me. Managed to win 2 titles somehow, so that's a plus.
What were those titles?
If you count the first one as a title, Champions of Champions doubles with Jack. That was early season, October, I think. That was a good day. Won that a few times now. And then the mixed triples with Sarah and Jack. We managed to get over the line. Sarah and Jack were both fantastic that day. I managed to win a couple of things, which is always nice. But generally speaking, it wasn't the best season. The titles at Ferndown didn't go to plan, and there's some missed opportunities I felt there. And then The SSEs weren't great. It was a decent team, but none of us really performed to our potential. But at the same time, there were some positives to take out of it. It's always nice to win stuff when you're not playing particularly well. And the reality is, I haven't played well for a couple of seasons now, and that's probably why I need to have a rest. But to still be able to win stuff when you're not performing well is one of the positives of last season.
I can't deny that it was quite nice seeing the team I played with the year before absolutely not do well without me the following year.
Yeah,
Although I like the guys, I felt I had a bit of a I'm better than you sort of thing over the season.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be fair though, this is where it's a bit of a missed opportunity because me and Callum played with Shane at Worthing, and it didn't quite go to plan. But actually, me, Callum, and Josh, we won all of our games. Yeah, that's right. We won all of our games in the Swiss to get into the quarterfinals at Ferndale. So it wasn't like we stuttered or fell over the line. We won quite comfortably in those Swiss games. Unfortunately, it just didn't click in the quarterfinal match. And then obviously that knocked us out. But that was the only triples match that me, Callum, and Josh actually played together. And we won or was it 4 Swiss games? 4 out of 5. So although it didn't look great on paper, it's those fine margins, isn't it? And we did fail in that fine margin in the quarterfinal. We lost to 10. But yeah, so fine margins in sport.
Who did you lose to?
We lost to David, Mark, and Pat, and they played really well, to be fair, on what was one of the more trickier terrains at Ferndale. Yeah, and we lost to 10. Me and Josh weren't really up to much in that game. Callum was more or less playing singles. But, I mean, you lose to 10, you win all your Swiss games. It's fine margins. But, yeah, it was a missed opportunity.
What about regionally? Did you play much regionally? Euro Cup?
Regionals was excellent, as always. I love my regional team and might be having a nice addition to that this year, Vince. But regionals. I love regionals. Successful, won 20 out of 24 games the last 2 years. So absolutely love the regionals and the social side of it. And then Euro Cup. I mean, look, at Euro Cup, we got beaten by the better team. That's the reality of it. It went down to the last match as I expected it to, and the better team came out on top. So fair play. So yeah, that was my season really in a nutshell. Disappointing in many ways, but some positives to take out of it.
I think that's a fair assessment on the Euro Cup, having been there for the final. I think the only real difference I saw was that the team that had been playing the most ball that year won. Because I think on paper there's very similar ability levels on between Baldock and Meadow especially.
Yeah, I mean, the best team on the day, they won fair and square, fair play. Baldock still put up a fight, as you'd expect. But yeah, you have to hold your hands up and say fair play.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Hoff?
A bit of a weird 2023, really. Having a child derailed a lot of what I obviously wanted to do in a positive way, because obviously I'd rather be with Artie. In terms of like playing and practicing, I lost a lot of momentum going into the season from the last 2 seasons where I was genuinely won a lot of things. So that set me back a little bit. I didn't feel like I played really bad throughout the year. There was just moments where I'd expect myself and back myself to be better, and because of the lack of sharpness, I'd say it probably didn't go that way that I really wanted. In terms of at Ferndale in the national titles, me and Callum underachieved, and then we lost in the last 16 after cruising pretty much through the morning. We were so poor in the last 16. We lost to Shane Howarth and Colin Smith, who are a good team by right. And I think we lost to 9, but the scoreline didn't reflect the performance. They were far better than us. In the triples, I played with Roland and Matt Everston, which on paper was a really good team, but similar to myself, you had Rowley coming into it after a few years of not really playing. Matt hadn't played for a while. I think it was like one of his first events for literally about 8 months. And so we kind of were really rusty and we didn't play very well. We got some big wins. We had some good wins, mainly because at times our experience and our quality did shine through. But when it came to the semi-final, we lost 13-11, I think, to Jason, Dean, and Strott, but we did have a chance to win it, but it would have been unfair if we won it. And then one of the
The one
highlights
that
of the
killed
season,
you was losing to Sean Shane and Callum, right, in at Worthing, because you guys
oh
were
yeah,
set to be in the final, and then you lost a game against a team that was basically out of it at that time.
we did
That was
really
a
well
killer.
to get. I think I can't. My memory is so bad with these things, but I don't know if we beat Jason, Dean, and Scott at Worthing. We
You
might have
did.
done.
So
Yeah,
we
I think.
beat them and you beat them. So they were pretty shocked
And
that
then
they
our
got
last
through
game
because you lost
was
last
against
game. Yeah.
Sean, and then we lost, didn't we? So that basically mucked us up. It's good to see that friends help friends, isn't it? But yeah. So and then obviously, unfortunately, my granddad died on that Saturday while we were at Worthing, so I didn't go on Sunday for obvious reasons. To be with my family. So we kind of pulled out. Which I think was a reasonable thing to do. So yeah, I'm being a bit talking a lot here, but overall, the highlight was the Euro Cup. I joined Meadow, joined Kent from Southern, because I'm a firm believer that to get better, you've got to play with better people, play with better players, and that's no disrespect to River Handball, who have got brilliant players, and I really enjoyed playing with them and Southern, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity when it was put upon me. And we built a really good team. We played a lot. Me personally, probably played 50% of the other players, but as a team, we came together and won Euro Cup, and it was brilliant. So yeah, a pretty good year, but not a great year. By the standards that I felt I set a couple of years before. So
It
yeah,
was one thing. I didn't even think about this, but I've just remembered now. Like one thing that was a little bit, I'd say gutting, because it would have been great to see, was not seeing a full strength Meadow at the Euro Cup finals abroad, because that team had the potential to do quite well abroad. There's a lot of firepower, a lot of experience, some really good female players as well, adding to the team. Like you had Alex and Becky, two of the strongest ladies in the game as well. I really liked the balance of it, and it was when I saw quite a few names were missing. It was a bit of a shame. I wanted to see you guys do well, basically.
yeah. Unfortunately, we missed myself and Jason, who are our out and out shooters, couldn't go, and Dean obviously had a fantastic year from Point. He couldn't go either, and it was all work related for all three of us. So Greg Davenport come in, which was great to see. And he came in as a shooter, but obviously he's another player that doesn't really play enough to really compete at that level, unfortunately. But there's always this year, isn't there?
Yeah,
So
Meadow
yeah,
will be there or thereabouts again. Although, before we move on to a different subject, can you just take a moment to tell me about Kent's capitulation at the interregionals?
oh well, I've no comment. I'm not taking any blame. I blame the manager. No, I don't. I don't know. Actually, it happens, doesn't it? Look at Van Dijk today.
Uh,
That came out of
yeah,
nowhere.
that was.
Yeah.
It's good. Oh well, it's not good. It's not good for Kent, obviously, but I think it's again shows how much fun the interregionals are, because that's 2 years in a row now where it's gone down to the last round. And I think that that's what makes it exciting, isn't it?
I think the interregionals are brilliant for that reason. I think, I mean, it's all been said before, and everyone probably agrees that the interregionals brings everything that Petanque is great together. So it brings that togetherness, it brings that sociable side, brings the competitive side, it brings team element, chemistry, and I just think all under one roof, everyone enjoys it. And it was my first time going to Pakefield, and I can honestly say it was absolutely fine. Now, obviously,
It was a huge
It was
improvement.
massive improvement.
I
Huge
can't even
improvement.
comment on what was better, but it felt cleaner. It felt more organized. The vibe was better. I think the weather helped as well. It was a lot better as well, because I remember arriving the Friday the year before and it was gale force winds pissing down of rain, and you're like, oh great, I've got to do this
It
for a
was it was
weekend.
big improvements. Big
Yeah,
improvements.
massive improvements. I have to give PE their due there. I think they still have too much gravel on those top terrains, but yeah, that's a thing that I'll keep moaning about just because I can.
can't
I've
have it
offered
all.
to go early next year and take a shovel and fix it, but yeah.
No, I think no, yeah, I actually, yeah, it was really good. Like you say, some of those pieces were like really thick, and it was almost like playing on like thick dirt. It's like like soil that's loose. It was almost like that at times. But I think for someone who went there first time, I was really expecting something really bad from what I was told. But obviously, I wasn't there a year before, so nothing to compare it to. So I enjoyed it as usual, and yeah, hopefully, well, I'm assuming it'll be back there this year. Anyone know anything different?
No, I
I
think
think it
this
was
is
a 3 year. I think it was a 3 year deal,
3-year
right?
contract.
Initially,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was. Yeah, so we'll be back at Pakefield.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, well let's move forward then to the hot topic at the moment. Obviously everyone knows. I was going to say it's been in the news, but I guess it's been in our news because Petonk's a very small sport. But the selection, the comings and goings of the selection process. There's been a lot of hoo-ha on the internet, on Facebook, mainly, on the old social network. What's your guys' views on selection? Anyway, in a general view, Sean, what do you think about it? Well, I know what you think about it, but just tell everyone what you.
Yeah, I feel like a broken record. Obviously, I'm massively in favour of a meritocracy. If you if you win, you go, basically. And my view on that has not changed. I think it's perhaps highlighted it even more how important that is after this year. I think that's the third time where something like this has happened, and it's avoidable. Um, and yeah, we should move towards a meritocracy. What that looks like, I'm very open minded on. I think probably some sort of Grand Prix series, similar to what you've suggested in the past, Hoff, is probably the best way forward. But in any case, it doesn't really. That's not what really bothers me more. It's the fact that people could be in a situation where they've performed, they've achieved, they've done the best they possibly could, and they don't get the reward for it, and that's not fair. It's unfair, and that's one of the reasons why I'm getting selection for it. Well, there's a whole host of reasons. One is that it's an amateur sport that we all pay a lot of money into. We all travel, put a lot of commitment and time and effort into it. And if you achieve, then why shouldn't you get rewarded? I mean, look, the other point to really focus on is that with the best will in the world, and I know Jack and Matt did excellently and achieved a medal in the doubles, and that's fantastic, as did Hannah and Alex. And those are fantastic achievements. But my view is that's despite of selection rather than because of selection.
Right. Apologies there. We cut the Zoom. We lost the Zoom for a little bit, but yeah, Sean, you were talking about your views on the selection process.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I won't go on too much longer about it. I think people know my views on it. But in relation to the current situation we find ourselves in, it really highlights the problems with selection. And I feel for all the individuals involved, the person or people that haven't been selected, but also the person who has been selected, because it just creates negativity around everyone, and that's always likely to be the case in these situations. So we really need to get back to a system where it is based on meritocracy, and also it'll relieve some of the pressure on the volunteers, because the reality is, in order to have a squad system and a selection system, you need to be able to monitor players' performance, and you need to put an awful lot of work in. And I think that's unfair on the volunteers as well, to be quite frank. So let's go back to a simplified way. I think the point I was making is, whilst we've had some successful achievements abroad, I strongly suggest that's despite of selection rather than because of selection. And that team camaraderie and togetherness is vitally important, more important than anything really in any sport, but in particular Pétanque. So let's go back to a situation where if you win, you go. It's not going to make a huge amount of difference. England are a decent nation. They have opportunities to medal, but we're not the likes of France. We're not going to be fighting out for gold medals on a regular basis, and that's the reality of it for lots of different reasons. Commitment, various commitments other people have. So let's give people the opportunity for them to achieve, and also it gives the opportunity for people that are on the cusp to improve their game and think to themselves, actually, do you know what? I've got a shot representing my country. At the moment, if you're on the cusp, you've got no opportunity of representing your country because it's all down to one or a few people's opinions, and that's not right or proper. So that's my views in a nutshell.
Vince, do you concur?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think PE and its members there's been a conflict of interest over the last few years. And I think, a lot of us feel that, yeah, we don't have the infrastructure in place to really do any form of squad or selection system at the moment. I mean, that just goes to show, look at the numbers that we have on the board. I think there's 5 members on the board out of 16 positions or 12 positions or something. There's basics that need to get sorted first before we start spending the little resource we have to try and do a system like that. Look, every decision in sport, in business, in life is powered by data, right? You need data to drive decisions, whether that's for business or sports or whatever it may be. Football Manager, I like data, but to gather all that stuff and really get a good assessment, you need a lot of resource, and we just don't have it. And I think that when I say the conflict of interest, it's more around what you're going for. So look, is the number one aim of Petanque England, and that's including all 3,000 odd members or whatever it is the aim of the sport to become a medaling country regularly at an international level? Or is it to build and grow the sport and focus on the development and the integrity of the sport in the country? And I think a lot of people would lean towards the latter. You'll see it at the AGM, some of the propositions. It's all about trying to grow exposure, get more people playing, and in time that will bring up the standard of the sport in the country. Things like youth development systems and all the stuff we do with juniors is great, and I think we probably do as much as we can do for juniors at the moment. But yeah, I think that that's where this whole conflict is happening. I think we need to clearly get our priorities in line and have everyone working in the same sort of direction. Because at the moment, there's some people's views that they want to get this at the end of it, and some want this, and we just need to keep things simple. Basically.
I think that's a really important point about growing the game. That should be Petanque England's top priority, because the reality is Petanque is dying, and a lot of younger people are no longer playing. Our younger base is severely lacking, and we need to find ways of encouraging people to both take up the game and continue to play. And the system we currently have will definitely not do that. So our priority should be growing the game, and getting more people up to a good standard. Because the other thing is, there's this argument about quality and quantity. Well, actually, I think you need both. It's all right having a small pool of excellent players, but at some point that pool is going to get less and less and less, and it'll become nothing. So unless you have that quantity of really top players, then we will just cease to exist as a sport, effectively.
The other important thing to note as well is, if you're if you're really focused on players, like on getting the best performances and stuff like that, like we need to attract interest, and we need those good players playing. We need it to be tougher to compete and stuff. And at the moment, it's clearly not causing an attraction. Like, I'm not a fan of these blanket statements I see on social media of, oh, bring back the old days, bring back Grand Prix. It's so vague and unhelpful to some degree, because at the end of the day, as you've seen, the board is dead. Like, there's barely anyone on there. There's very little people willing to actually take on that level of work, because there is a lot of work needed. So I think we have to, like, as much as it's good to provide your opinion and share that, I do think that we, as players, those that can find the time, contribute more than just saying, "I'll bring back the BPA days when there was 100 teams." Blah blah. That's not going to happen in the next 6 years, probably. There's a long-term project. You need a 5-year plan. I firmly believe something like that on what your aims are across that 5 years, away from just international results.
Yeah,
Try some new things, and I think there's a lot. But to
I
do that,
don't.
we need volunteers and we need manpower. We don't have that at the moment as a
I
sport.
don't think the system matters that much. What does matter is bringing back a good feeling around the sport. And one of the ways of bringing back a good feeling about the sport and encouraging, it will encourage more participation. It won't get to the numbers you were saying about the BPA days. Absolutely not. I don't think that'll ever happen, actually. But participation would increase, and actually bringing more volunteers into the sport is to bring back that feel good factor around Petanque England. And one way to achieve that, and there are other ways as well, which I'm sure we'll come on to, but one way to achieve that is to get rid of this untransparent system that we currently have, which causes nothing but bad feeling amongst members. So we have to get to that point.
I think for me, that's why I think it's important to go back to a system. And like you said, Sean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a Grand Prix. It can be any system. I think that isn't allowing someone or some people to make decisions to select other players. Like what you said, Vince, data is important. And I think it's almost impossible to know how good or who deserves it outside of results. So if all we're looking at is results, then results should just matter. So for short argument, if a team wins an event or wins this qualifying series, they get to go because based on results, they are the best team. I think it's very hard to have a squad system because you're creating a squad and then selecting from that squad. But you could select number 6 or you could select number 1. But why select number 6 over number 1 if you've got no data to back it up? Do you know what I mean? And I think that's where we need to get away from, because I personally think all it's doing is causing stress and unnecessary issues amongst the membership. Because I don't think the person, like someone like Martin, should get all the stuff that goes at him as much as the member shouldn't have to put up with not having transparency and clarity over what and who and why someone's being selected. So I think it's like Sean said, it needs to be better for everyone. That includes the people that are doing the selection. It will imagine taking all that away from someone like Martin or the coaches, where they don't have to think, oh, we're going to make a decision now and no one's going to be happy, or etc. Or putting a squad system in place where no one can actually fulfill it. You know, me and you have been part of squads, Vince, together over the last 3 years. And let's be honest, it's been it's been nothing, hasn't it? Nothing's really.
I always, when people refer that to me, like the thing I always say is, well, look, one of the days where we met up as a squad in
Only 4
Oxshott,
of us.
there was 4 of us, and the other 2 got selected.
Yeah, I know.
That was the funny. That was insane. Like that was, to me, that was borderline insanity when I heard that.
Yeah.
Like, but the yeah, that's pretty
and
mad.
no one has the time, money, family, commitments, work, all come into this. Another way, and in my opinion, I want to see more teams and more people play, because the more people and more teams play, the more exposure, the more people want to look at Petanque, more people want to think, oh, that seems like
more
a good
people
sport.
to aspire to. There's loads of reasons.
And also that will increase over time. That will increase the amount of quality players you have.
I agree.
Yeah,
long term,
we must not forget there are players in this country who are not top level but are close to that,
and they won't enter because they feel they haven't got a chance.
They won't enter, and if they don't enter, they won't be playing as much. And if they're not playing as much, they won't get to the level that they perhaps could achieve. And we need to be encouraging those players to get to that level, because there are plenty of players who are on that cusp. And we need to do all we can to make sure they can achieve what they can. So that's that. And also going back to your point, Hoff, about, relieving the pressure from the volunteers. Now, if it was if it was successful, it would be worth the stress. If we were winning medals left, right, and centre, like they do in France, then selection would be worth it. And people, taking people's criticisms would be part and parcel of our avenue to success. But it's not the case. And don't let anyone convince you otherwise. It's an absolute myth that our performances have, in any way, shape, or form, been better since selection has arrived. In fact,
So I wanted to just comment one thing on that. So when it came to the select this argument of selection is given yield better results and stuff like that. Let's where we medaled, right, was that doubles championship in the Netherlands, the European.
Yeah, can I? Sorry to interrupt, Vince, but I just want to comment on that so I remember it, don't gloss over it. And I do have to apologise to the women because I'm not sure how that worked. And congratulations to them on them winning that silver medal, which was fantastic. But in the men's game, which is obviously what I'm most interested in because I'm involved in that, let's be very clear here what happened in that, because I think it's important. Because if somebody tries and tells you it's one of the reasons we medal is part selection, it's just not true. It's inaccurate, because the reality is that team went, Jack and Matt went by default, not by selection. That wasn't going to be the team that was supposed to go. So that happened by, if you like, by sheer luck. And as it happened, they were successful. And it doesn't surprise me because Jack and Matt know each other's game inside out. But don't let anyone convince you or tell you that was part of the selection process, because it's
this is the point I wanted to make.
Absolutely not true. It's not correct.
So this is the exact point I wanted to make, is that one of the key reasons why we medaled in the men's at that event, you had two people that have played together probably for 15 years or something. They know each other like the back of their hand, and they might not be out and out shooters, but they showed that they can get a consistent game and results out of, they beat the teams they have a good chance of beating. They come up against one of the best, well, arguably at the moment, the best double in the world, which is Cocciolo and Rizzi, right? And they got demolished. But that team that's nothing to be ashamed of. That's one of the best teams in the world. Then on the women's, okay, where there's the argument there around, selection causing, giving us better results. Alex and Hannah had just come back, I believe, from the triples championships, where they'd gone a long way in the, I think it was the home nations. They won it in the end, I believe. Not the home nations, the Nations Cup. And they built a lot of togetherness and chemistry over that year. And it really showed in the doubles. They found ways to win games, and they beat some good nations. Like, I watched them beat the Netherlands, and they played some superb ball. But I don't think if you just chuck those two together because they finished 1-3 or 1-4, and they hadn't played together before that doubles, I don't think they would have gone anywhere near medaling. But they did, because they had time to build a real chemistry between them, which for me is so key in ball. If I can't vibe with someone, I won't be able to win games with them.
That's a lesson to be learned, isn't it? If you know your partner's games inside out, you're likely to be successful. It's not rocket science, is it really? But that's not what selection achieves. It doesn't achieve that. It often puts players together who don't really know each other's game, and lo and behold, it very rarely works. It shouldn't be a big surprise, really.
One of the biggest things about chemistry isn't necessarily what happens on the pitch. It's temperament and what happens off the pitch, because people think that, they play together. Look how good they play together, whoever it may be. But actually, Vince, you may be a real big hothead when you miss a ball or something. And Sean, you may be the opposite. And if you're playing together that never played together, you've never played together before, that could bring Sean's game down, because he's always seeing you get annoyed, and the same way it may bring your game down because you feel like Sean isn't intense enough in the game. And people don't, I'm not saying people don't realise it, that's unfair, but some people don't understand that it's not just about how you play on the pitch, it's about the aura of you as a team, and knowing that actually that's just how he is. I know how he is, I know what gets him ticking, I know what affects him and what doesn't affect him. And that's why there was a team that won like 3-4 years in a row when it wasn't selection, which was Jack, Scott, Roland Jones and Kev Spillett, because they had that incredible camaraderie, that incredible team chemistry. And don't let anyone fool you into thinking that Kevin Spillett was not a main member of that team, because I've heard lots of whispers that, it's carrying a fourth player. Kev Spillett is a great player in his own right. And I'll tell you what, if he was playing well, one of the other three would be set out and vice versa. So it was nothing to do with having a fourth. And we need to get out of the fact that we can't carry a player. Well, what's that? That never happens. You pick a team based on who you feel you want to play with and who you feel is the team that you feel like you're going to achieve most with. It's very rare that you'll get three top players and a novice playing together in a nationals. So, I'm perplexed when people think that 4-man teams or 4 women teams don't work because someone always gets carried. It's just not the truth.
No, it's not the case at all. Yeah.
So basically, based on another thing I did want to touch on actually with the selection, and one thing that it baffled me a little bit with obviously there's been no actual we must stress there's been no actual official announcement, but there's a lot of talk and a lot of hearsay going on Facebook. But I think we're all aware that the people that have been selected, and we're all aware of what's happened and what's been going on. But I just want to say that I personally don't think it's right that you select someone outside of the remit, which is the top 4 for the men's were the squad. If someone, and you pick 2 from that 4, if someone from that 4 pulls out, then you've still got 3 quality players there to pick from. I don't think you should be going down the list unless all 4 players are unavailable. Then you have to make a contingency plan personally.
And in theory, you could bring up whoever finished on the same amount of points on the position below. So in this case, we know the 2 names, but there was 2 people that eventually could have been considered, but that needs to be stated beforehand.
Yeah, it needs to be ruled.
So you can't move goalposts, right? So I think if you say we're selecting from the top 4 and that there's nothing around bringing people up and stuff like that, I think that's that caused even more ag than perhaps
it just highlights again complete lack of transparency. And
I think it's just overlooked. I think people just didn't the people that are involved with selection probably didn't think that scenario would happen. I don't think that it's a case of them
because it shouldn't happen, and it goes back to the original point. He says, in my opinion, well, honestly, there's not many things where I couldn't see somebody else's opinion, but on this one, I can't grasp it. How it could be reasonable, particularly as it's not in the rules. But even if it was in the rules, I'd still question it. But even more so, it not being as part of the rules. How could you possibly justify or rationalise selecting someone outside of the top 4, apart from exceptional circumstances where they all say they can't do it for some reason, but we know that's not the case. I just can't understand how that could possibly in any way, shape or form be justified. It's just completely and utterly unfair. And I would love someone to be able to explain to me why that's okay, because it's just not.
Yeah, and we must reiterate that we have not, the people that may be listening to this may think that we're talking about them, and we're not mentioning names for that reason, and we have no issues with anyone that's been selected. It's not anyone's fault. The players that are selected, it's genuinely not their fault. It was the same thing that happened to me when Sofiane got selected over me, which I wasn't happy about, and a lot of people had a bit of a moan about it. But again, it wasn't his fault. Just like this time, it isn't Jason's fault for sure argument, and it isn't Mopta's fault. There's just a problem with the process. There's a problem with the rules, and unfortunately, every year there seems to be a problem, and all it does is just alienate people and just create issues that shouldn't happen in the first place. Now, I run a successful over 50s event, and last year Martin Inglis did it for me, and it's brilliant. People, we get 30 odd teams every event, and it's just bringing the enjoyment back and the participation levels back. And I don't think there's any reason why we can't do that with our men's game or women's game at the top level. Personally, I do think we need to start having more to win, more places for people to get something out of it. I know that's difficult, but it's probably about time that we had some money put into these events that so not only would so if you had a Grand Prix system, for sure argument, and the team number 1 goes to the world, you'd have team number 2 get a certain prize, team number 3, team number 4, team number 5, and where there's more to win, there'll be more people that will probably want to try and do it. And I guess that's why the Home Nations is always so successful with the amount of qualifiers. There's like 40 to 50 teams enter because there's eight places to play for. I think we need to look into that as well.
Yeah, we absolutely do. Yeah, that's for sure. Just going back to your original point, it's good to clarify. Yeah, this is absolutely not about individuals. Everybody in the whole process is excellent players in their own right, for sure. Brilliant players, but it is very much about the process and the unfairness of that process. And it's absolutely right that we should highlight that. But yeah, going back to the point about prizes, yeah, I mean that's what was so successful about the old Grand Prix is that you had that opportunity to win stuff regardless of whether you finish number 1 or not. And I think we should get to a position where that happens. And I don't think it's unachievable either. I would like to see the reintroduction of a North Sea style tournament. And I don't think that's beyond the wit of Petanque England to try and move something forward with that. I appreciate there'll be some costs involved, but there are ways around it, and you could even look at potentially increasing the entrance fees if there's going to be more prizes available. I think people would be open to that. There's certainly some opportunities to explore to encourage that participation we need into our tournaments.
Yeah, and obviously, a final point on all this is that the AGM is when is it? Is it on the 8th of February? No, 10th of February is the AGM, the Petanque England AGM. Anyone clarify with me?
I think it's on Thursday, isn't it?
We should know that.
Is it this Thursday? Or no, that's when the deadline to vote is. Yeah, so it must be the following weekend then.
Yeah, so I think it's really important that we look at the email that was sent out with the agenda, and we look at, voting, looking at if you're not going to be in attendance, obviously finding someone that can be a proxy. And I believe that Monty Cuellar and Dave Baxter are available to take your votes to do with the selection process. Because Matt Blyton has put a very good proposal in that until we have like the right structure and money involved and finances, that we go back to a non-selective process where meritocracy takes precedent. And I believe that that's right personally, and we should definitely vote on that. So I'd encourage anyone to do that.
And to clarify, meritocracy was introduced to some degree last year for the triples of the men's, which was good. But I almost think it needs a rebrand now. It needs a rebrand, a new face, and that's whether you're introducing prizes, you rename it and start again. We need to stop. We need to advertise our big events more.
Oh, we need to promote events.
Like one of the key things to your over 50s Grand Prix stuff that makes me want to play and be over 50 is you start advertising early. You keep that momentum going. Barry Wing used to be very good at that stuff as well. That was one of his key strengths when he was involved with things, is he was happy to push things and promote things. And I think that's really important as well. I think we need that again, but we need the manpower in Petanque England to do that. And at the moment,
I would happily help Petanque England promote events and push events. It don't take very long to do things and to get things sorted. I'm no expert on it, but I am very good at just getting it out there and being, like you say, building that momentum, getting people involved, being clear and showing a lot of transparency with what is going on. And that's another thing. I think we've got to be a lot more transparent with what's going on. I mean, a lot of it is just like you don't even hear anything until like the last minute. So I think that needs to improve as well. I've like you say, if you promote it early enough and keep drumming it, and if you have more prizes on offer, you will get more participants. I'm not saying like straight away you'll get 50, but you might get an extra 10 and then an extra 20 the year after that. Is once word gets round that it's bigger and better, and etc. etc. That's the same thing with over 50s. When I did it the first year, I rarely got 16 teams at each one, but now getting 30 plus at each one. So it does work if you stick at it.
Yeah, and as you said, I would definitely just to quickly add, you briefly touched on it. Anyone who's listening to this I would again repeat, make sure that if you really want your views seen and acted on, go and vote. There's no point rambling on Facebook. That's just not how anything's going to get changed in with the governing body and with Petonk England. So yeah, look into the details that have been shared in terms of proxy voting. Have your say if you want change, because if not, nothing will change. I promise you. Just there'll be a conversation and it'll get swept under the rug because there's not enough backing.
Yeah, that's exactly the point I was going to make. Going back to the original bit about the AGM, there's been some excellent motions put forward by mostly by London members, Matt Blight and Monty, for example, which are excellent. Share your views and exercise your right to vote. To be honest, exercise your right to vote, even if you disagree with everything we've said tonight.
Yeah,
Still
absolutely,
exercise your right to vote. It's really quite important, particularly
Just
if you
don't
want
come
to
and
keep
talk
on
to me
positive.
afterwards.
Yeah, but yeah, please do. They are excellent motions that have been put forward, and I wholly support all of them, to be quite frank. And I hope that the majority of our membership do too. So I think there's an opportunity to move forward, and yeah, I think again what Vince said is absolutely right. It's an opportunity to start afresh, really, a blank slate. You know, let's try something new. Change is as good as a rest. So yeah.
yeah, that's very good. Well, we'll leave that point there, and we'll take a short break, and we'll be back in a minute. Welcome back, everyone, to the Feet in the Circle podcast with me, David Plumoff, Sean Prendergast, and Vince Wills. Now that we've got the nitty gritty, serious stuff out of the way, let's end on something a little bit more light-hearted, I guess. 2024 season is upon us, gentlemen. Vince, starting with you, what are you most looking forward to this year, and what are your goals and aspirations as you blow smoke onto the screen?
Just to add effect, it's going to be quite a different year for me because I've changed region. So I switched regions straight after the interregionals.
Don't do that, mate. I don't like
Um,
do that.
Yeah. Difference is I don't do it every year. But yeah, I've decided to join Chiltern. Reason being, I spent the whole last season and played with players from Chiltern throughout the years. I feel like I don't know. In London, I think there's some
Yeah,
similar to Pete.
Why not London anymore? That's bigger
So
reason.
yeah, so I don't. I'll be careful of what I say, but I mean, for me, the London region has certain things they want to focus on, and I think that's great. Like things like Crystal Palace and some big things that they're doing, which are really progressive for the sport. And I fully support that. And I'm still a London Petanque Club member, for example. But I feel like the playing side has kind of stagnated over the last couple of years. Like for example, I mean, look at our interregional team this year. A lot of what I would say our strongest players, a lot of our strongest players in the region didn't have any interest in coming for multiple reasons, whether it be for money, the location of the interregionals, because they don't really care. Like for me, I care about it because I not because I want to win it necessarily. I mean, obviously, when I play anything, I want to win. But for me, it's such a good weekend to look forward to, even if I'm staying in a tent. And I just didn't get that vibe from the region. I think that their focus is on their other things, quite frankly, and a lot of the stronger players don't want to spend the time playing, which I understand their reasons and I know their reasons for not doing them, but I'm not on that wavelength. I want to be around people that want to play ball regularly, and that want to improve. And I think the other thing I will say is that a lot of the people that I know in the Chiltern region that I've spent time with over the last year or two are from a similar age group as well. So I feel like there's another sort of area I can connect with people there. And I'm just looking forward to a new challenge. It's not a plan to stay there for a year and then change region. That's going to be where I am now. And I'll be fully committed and offer what I can to that region from a playing and hopefully suggestion perspective as well.
We're pleased to have you.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. And then other stuff in 2024, like in terms of the playing side, I mean, I've got the itch to play already. I'm playing midweek in Chiltern at the moment, just to keep my arm going. I think I've got more time this year. Yeah, 1 hour train from my house straight there. It's not bad at all. But the yeah, for me the main thing is like with 2024, I've got the itch, and I think like I'm gonna have more time to play this year. I just think of my son's a little bit older now. I feel like I'm developing a hunger again to improve, and I feel like I haven't felt the need to improve in the last couple of years. Like I haven't had that motivation to get better because there hasn't been much competition. There hasn't been the same sort of like integrity at the events and stuff. And I feel like there's new things happening this year, a lot of change, a new region for me, for example. And it's just given me a bit more of a kick up the backside to play. So that's the plan. Play more, keep improving, hopefully help the region in any way I can, whether it be into regionals, Eurocup. I feel like I've got a lot to offer. So that's what I'm gonna try and do.
Shawnee P, over to you.
I don't have any major ambitions. I don't intend to play much at all. That's my ambition, to play as less as few times as possible this year. I am very much just going to concentrate on playing to have fun, and this time I mean it. I will not. I can't. I'm away on holiday anyway at the titles weekend, so I won't be playing in that. I may play in, because they're at Worthing, I may play in the men's SSE triples. If I do, I will play in a team that I will play in a team where it can, where I can really enjoy it without a huge amount of pressure, but we still might be able to achieve something. And yeah, I'll play in some regional stuff, but I won't be playing to a high standard this year at all. I need to take a break. And I need to just get back to just enjoying the sport, to be quite honest, because I think the last couple of years I haven't really enjoyed it. It's been a bit of a grind, so I need to get back to enjoying it. And yeah, so that's very much my ambition, to play not very much and to bring back the enjoyment of the sport.
I've got a
Obviously,
commitment to cure your tick by the end of the year, by the way. I promise you, I'm going to
well, I was
figure
just
it
about
out.
to say it's well known that you have some sort of like yips going on when you play. I for one video record it a lot. But that's for my own enjoyment. But are you actually doing any? What do you think that is? Why do you think that happens, and how can you actually rectify it? Do
You
you
don't have
think?
to answer, by the way, if you don't want to talk about it.
No, I've been asked this before in a previous podcast. I don't know really the answer. I've tried numerous things. For me, I think it's pressure and expectation. I don't know where that's really come from. I do have a suspicion where part of it is, but I don't want to lay the blame at it. But I do think the selection fiasco that happened with me back in 2018 has had an impact. That's not to say it's the only reason, but I do think that is part of it, if I'm honest. I think that knocked my confidence a lot. And it's kind of just gone downhill from there, really, if I'm honest. So I think that's part of it.
I don't think your standard of players really depleted. Yeah, you've got this hesitancy with your shooting, but I think
but
that is
a lot of that, Vince, is just pure sheer will and determination rather than anything ability wise. I have a knack of being able to win stuff just by literally just sheer will. So in my own head, I know that I'm not performing to the levels that I can perform to. It doesn't necessarily mean I can't win things, because I still can, but it's hard work. And I don't want it to be hard work. I want to go and enjoy it now. And if I win because I've performed well rather than I've just ground the living daylights out of the day.
Do you think part of it is like, do you feel like your game is kind of like stagnated a little bit in terms of improvement, and then you're trying too hard to in your head to get back to like levels that you were before, and that's having a negative impact on the yip sort of thing? And I don't mean that in like a horrible way. Like, just say for short iron, if I'm playing bad at something and I try too hard to get better at it, I naturally don't get better because I'm trying too hard, and actually other things go as well, because you're constantly thinking about, oh, I used to be better than this. Come on, throw the ball. Come on, you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Maybe I haven't thought of that, possibly, but a lot of it is belief. I mean, when I was a particularly good shooter, and all good shooters are like this. You'll know this, Hoff, is that I would go into the circle and I just wouldn't. I just believe I was going to hit every single ball. It wouldn't even. There would be no second thoughts at all. I'd be like, and if I missed, I'd be surprised. Do you know?
And
Do you know what I
do you have
mean?
those thoughts now then?
No, I don't have those thoughts. It scares living daylights out of me to go and
No,
shoot a
that's what I
ball. And
mean. So you have the
shouldn't be
opposite
like
now.
that, really. It should be the other way around. It should be that if you miss, you're like, Christ, I didn't expect to miss that. So it should be like that.
So
I'm
do
going to
you
fix
not?
you, Sean.
You don't
That's
want
my
to take a shot on?
objective
Is
this year.
that how you feel sometimes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you
Definitely.
there going? Are you hoping that the opposition, if you've got that one ball left and they've got one ball, and you know that if they get on your shooting, are you almost certainly thinking, "Oh, please don't get on"?
Yeah. I don't trust my shooting, but I don't know why. Because actually,
You're still
I
quite
am.
good at
I
important
am a
like
good.
hits and stuff like that.
I can be, and I am a good shooter. So there's no real rationale for me not trusting it. Like I say, I think part of that is because of what happened to me in the selection side of things. But you know, yeah. So I think that's part of the reason. I need to get that. I need to get a bit of cockiness back and actually belief, and go into that circle thinking, yeah, do you know what? I'm going to hit this, and if I don't, oh well, it's a surprise kind of thing. So. But I think the only way to get to that point is to start enjoying the game more. To start enjoying the game more, and then I think that will come naturally. That's my hope anyway.
The thing is, when you crouch shoot, you don't get the yips, do you? So it
Not as
must be
much. I still
it
do a
must be
little
an
bit.
expectation thing, because when you crouch shoot, you're probably it's a little bit off center. People are thinking, oh look, he's crouch shooting, so you naturally don't have you do, you think you're going to hit it, but you don't when you're in the circle and you've got an action, how you throw the ball when you're shooting. I think that plays in your head a little bit, but when you're crouched, it's similar to me when I'm scooting. I sometimes can hit a lot of ball scooting, not all the time, but because I don't feel like I'm going to hit it, because I know it's like wrong sort of thing. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, it's hard to explain, but it's almost
yeah.
like
I'm better if it's. I hit more ball if I think it's wrong.
That's true.
So, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's something that has really affected my enjoyment of the game. So I just need to get back to enjoying it, and take that expectation off. I need to play in teams where there isn't that expectation to win stuff really, and just get back to purely enjoying it. If that means, going into the bronze competitions or the plate competitions for a year or so, so be it. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's not like we make a living out of playing petanque. And also, the reality is, I, you can still win
It's
stuff
not an
in
ageist
petanque.
sport either, so you could
No,
literally take a couple of years or 1 year out of playing properly, and you can come back in 10 years' time, and you'll still be able to compete.
yeah. So yeah, my main ambition is just to enjoy it, play some regional competitions, and just play with people I enjoy, and just go out there and have fun. What about you?
My aim this year is to qualify for the World Championships. That's all on my mind at the moment. I've got a bit of a steely determination like I had before, like last 2022, 2021. I've already been out practicing. I'm really determined to get my levels back up and achieve what I achieved maybe a couple of years ago. That is literally my focus, is to make sure that I'm part of that World Championship squad in December. That's going to Dijon. I feel like,
It's where I'm
I'm
from, by the way, in France. It's
Dijon.
my area. Yeah, well, I'm from half an hour from there, but
Well, you are
if
Mustard, aren't you? Really?
yeah, if I go, my whole family will be there. That'll be pretty cool.
That's all right then. And come and watch me. But but yeah, I'm feeling good about this year. Artie's a little bit older. Well, he's a year old on Thursday, so he's a different type of baby. He's a different type of he needs a different type of care, which probably doesn't mean that I need to, me and Millie can be a little bit more independent again.
Yeah, you don't have to pump your nipples anymore, Hoff.
And I'm not planning on playing every week. Don't get me wrong. I'm being reasonable with what I want to do. But yeah, so I've got real ambition to, and I really want to win the national doubles or the national triples or the national singles. the singles, it'll be quite an achievement if I get to another final. I think it's quite a hard singles is a really hard event to navigate through, because most of the time you play top players every round. Unlike Sean, I'm not lucky, so I can't go through an event shooting like 5 times and still winning. Absolute Jose Mourinho right there. I just don't know how he does it, but that's for another day. It'll take about 8 podcasts to work out how he wins. But yeah, so yeah, and I feel like when I did make those finals, I feel like I did it in a way that not many people do. I think I played a really aggressive game, and so yeah, I feel like that's my ambition is to get into the World Championship team. Well, into the team. I've got a team. And to make my mark on there with the team. It's a really interesting team. It's going to be a really interesting dynamic. I'm playing with Jason, Roland, and Dean. So I've come in basically for Scott. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting having me and Jason on the same team in the triples. I don't think we've never played triples together. I don't think we've played doubles together, which we won pretty comfortably in an event. But yeah, so yeah, that's basically it for me. Play a bit more, train a bit
Do you
more.
think you'll be able to practice as much as you did a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I think so. I've already practiced quite a bit already. Used lunch breaks. My head's I'm really focused on it, like genuinely really focused on it, like I was. So, and that's normally a good thing for me. So, yeah, I've got a lot to work towards, and I think I just want to get my levels back up, because as much as I did shoot all right last year, I just want to get that consistency back. That's really it. Yeah, that's where I'm
One
at.
thing we didn't touch on actually that's quite important with this year is that, well, you just kind of stated it in a way,
Pause.
is that there's the teams of 4.
Well, there's no format.
Now,
There's no format, is
yeah,
there, at
but
the
this is
moment?
what we're
But
hearing, right, through the
we're hearing
grapevine.
that there's teams of 4.
But if that is the case, I've also heard that you can't actually attend an event as a 4 and play as a 4 at that event.
Yeah, I find that
Which
mind-boggling.
is mind-boggling to me. Like, I get being able to enter as a 4, and I also
Rotate.
get
Yeah.
the whole thing of each person has to play at least one event. However, navigating a team of 4 is so important in a international on the international stage, and I think that those that can get a 4 together and make it work productively shouldn't be penalized, and they should be allowed to. I think that 4s should be exercised properly if we're going to have 4s. Because like your team's a perfect example. You're going to have a lot of firepower and a lot of pointing power. If you're having a bad game, the obvious change is Jason goes to shot and you sub out or whatever. There's to have that ability in your arsenal and in your squad is going to be a real asset. I think if you're penalised down to a 3,
which is something you'd have to replicate abroad. So why you would remove that option is beyond bizarre. I mean, yeah, exactly. You're absolutely spot on, Vince. But also, why overcomplicate it? Why? It makes no sense.
They'll be scared of people being carried.
It never happens.
No, it won't happen. You won't. If you've got a player who's not pulling their weight in a squad, they will get found out, and you'll lose games because of it. Because teams that can bring in a stronger asset to their team are going to demolish you a lot of the time.
Yep.
Well, we can save this debate for when the format's officially.
I just hope they consider. If they hear this, I hope they consider what we're saying.
I'm sure they won't.
I'm sure they won't.
Well, lads, it's been a pleasure. We haven't done this for a while, and hopefully we can maybe do one once a month. That'd be quite good, I think. But yeah, I think we've touched on some good points there. We've discussed certain issues that probably needed raising, and we've ended with our aspirations. And I'm going to win everything, so that's all. That's good. So yeah, right. We'll speak to you later, boys. See you later.
Goodbye. Bye.
Bye. Stop.